to the Gary and Kenny Show. I'm Gary Kroeger, and I'm in Chicago, actually, Kenny, and you are?
Still in Calabasas, California.
And you're still Kenny Seisler?
And I remain Kenny Seisler. Although I always wanted to be, and I didn't know that you could do this, Gary, and pardon me for jumping in on this.
Change your identity?
But I hated my name, Kenny. Always hated my name, Kenny. I loved my middle name, James. I always wanted to be James Seisler. But I didn't know as a kid that it was an option that you could just throw away your first name and go by your middle name.
Well, it's not like it's laid out as an option, but authors, you could be K. James Seisler, and very often in the union, if there's already a Kenny, you could pick up James, but it's not like...
Anyhow, I just feel as though there's a lot of things that I know now that I probably would have done. And one of the things I would have done was I would have been James Seisler instead of Kenneth Seisler. So that's...
Well, but I like Kenneth.
I hate Kenneth. Nobody names his kids Kenneth.
I mean, Kenny's cute, but it's very casual. Kenneth Branagh, Kenneth.
Right. Kenneth. Well, he can go by Kenneth. Do you think his friends call him Kenneth Branagh?
They call him Kenneth.
They call him Kenny.
They call him Kenny. Of course they do.
That's the problem.
Of course they do. Hey, Kenny, Kenneth, James. I got to tell you something. I like your hair. Oh, it's longer. It's way. It's a little tousled. It's a little just post. Coital.
I listened. Men didn't used to talk like this, Gary.
No. And
I love what you're wearing.
Well, thank you very much. It's sort of a lumberjack, at a business meeting. But your hair, is this your new style? It's a little long. It's a little
no. I had actually wanted to get a haircut about a month ago, and I called the person that I've been getting my hair cut, which we used to call that person a barber, but I believe she's now a hairstylist.
Well, generally, I don't know that there's a gender distinction, and perhaps
I remember I was corrected once many years ago when I went to somebody and I said, I need somebody to cut my hair. I need a barber. And they said, no, I don't know any barber.
You need a stylist.
You need a stylist. So then all of a sudden I was going to stylist. Anyhow, so I was going to this woman for many years, and she's great, wonderful. And I called her, but she didn't call me back. And that was the first time she hadn't called me back. And I started to worry. And this went on days and days and days of me trying to get in contact with her.
Afraid that she's seeing other heads? What do you mean?
No, afraid that something terrible might have happened. Oh, okay. And the worst thing that came to my mind was...
a vacation?
Maybe she quit. Maybe she gave up the business. Maybe she's retired and she's just left me out there without a hairstylist, without a person. Right. I felt abandoned.
What would you do? Yeah.
I don't know. I was trying to figure out. I was thinking, well, maybe I just show up at the place and I go in there and I say, what happened to Jeannie? Where she just left me?
And what if she was hiding behind a curtain? There's some reason she doesn't want to see you.
She doesn't want to see me. It's like the Banshees of insurance thing. She just does so it's cut me off. So anyhow, that segues into the Oscars nicely, which just happened.
Well, but no, I need you to finish that story.
Oh, anyhow,
you got a hold of her. I want to know if she's
okay. There was a real anxiety of what was I going to do? How was I going to replace this person? I mean, we had been through years and years and years to be able to get my hair cut exactly the way it was supposed to be. And now to have to go through that now, and you've got just all of a sudden popped up and she said, "How about Tuesday?"
Great. I needed a little bow on that story.
That's okay. All right. That's the bow. All right. So all of a sudden she appeared back and said, "How about Tuesday?" I said, "Yeah, Tuesday." But
well, somehow you segued this into the Oscars. I'd love to talk about the Oscars.
That's because I mentioned the Banshees of Inisherin, which I think we talked about what a banshee is, right?
Yes, we did. We talked about Banshee. Right. There are no banshees on the show, is what your point was, sort of, right?
Well, I didn't know what a banshee was. I don't think anybody really knew. Everybody was going around, the Banshees of Inisherin, right. But nobody really. So I looked up what a banshee is.
Yeah, I vaguely recall. Well, it was a
banshee comes to your house screaming, about the death of a loved one.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But there's no gender distinction.
Banshee. Banshees are bad.
A banshee could be a man or a woman?
It didn't say, I suppose.
Okay. No, I assume that again.
What? I think of a banshee. When I think of a banshee, I think of a non-binary banshee.
Okay. Let's talk about the Oscars. I enjoyed the show. I liked Jimmy Kimmel. I thought it was...
How comfortable is he? How comfortable is he?
Well, he's so comfortable. He's the best. He is Carson. He is Bob Hope.
But he was never a stand-up comedian.
No, but he knows how to deliver.
Totally.
He's brilliant. I thought they were kind of hitting the Will Smith thing. It got a little bit of overkill, I think. I mean, it was funny. A little bit. I think coming down on James Cameron, maybe a little too much, whatever. I really enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the entertainment. I enjoyed Jimmy. I enjoyed the acceptance speeches. And I have a little sidebar about Jamie Lee Curtis, Academy Award winning Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay, well, let's step aside and go to that sidebar.
First of all, she was the guest host at Saturday Night Live in 1983, maybe 84, whatever. Back then,
and she was kind of she was hot.
Kind of?
Yeah, she was
probably hot. My wife said the most perfect body that ever was
created. Was in wasn't the name of her movie Perfect or something like that?
Perfect. Right. But I mean the striptease from True Lies. She told me two things. Years after that, after True Lies came out, I ran into her at the Good Neighbor or Good Earth diner on Sunset Boulevard. It's the kind of place where actors went, and I went. She was really, really sweet, and she said to me, I swear, she said to me, "I took something from you, Gary." She said, "We did a sketch together where I'm a nerd who won a win a date with Jamie Lee Curtis contest. And everybody picks on me and she feels sorry for me. And I point out, well, according to the contest rules, I do get to kiss you goodnight." And she said, "You don't have to beg me to kiss you. Of course I'll give you a kiss." So she takes off my glasses, right? And just instinctively as an actor, I blurred my eyes like someone that needs glasses like this. She told me at the coffee shop, she said she found that so authentic that in True Lies, when she has her glasses taken off, she did that little eye flutter. So I am in the DNA of that performance.
How about that?
And I found that very interesting. Now, in the sketch, to this day, people say, "Kroeger, you made out with Jamie Lee Curtis." And yes, I did, actually. Quite passionately. Yeah. That's really the end of my story. It's not a barber story, but it was okay.
But had you ever made out with her after that?
No, she was already with Chris Guest by that. Chris Guest was in the show. And I think they had become the item by then. I don't believe they were married yet, but yes. Yeah. No, she was one of the kindest people that I've ever worked with.
Well, she seems authentic. She seems very authentic. She is authentic.
But I loved watching the show. I felt like these are my people. This is my industry, and they are diverse, and they are loving, and they are kind, and they are generous, and they are political. A few shots went out there, and I think about Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump watching the show, and they got to realize they're not part of this party. They're on the other side. I like the political statements, again, of inclusion and all of these things that our industry makes. I'm very proud to be part of that. And I think we're a hell of a lot stronger than the opposition when I see this. People are paying billions and billions of dollars for the product that Hollywood creates around the world. I think our message is a hell of a lot stronger. There, I said it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, one of the things that I have to point out is that generally, liberal people, I think across the board, are just more talented. They can sing, they can dance, they can write. It's a conservative Republican.
And it is. I think that the artistic discipline lends to more creative thinking and creative broadening your horizons. I do. I think those kind of people are also attracted to journalism. So if you were to say the journalists are a bunch of lefties, I think that people looking for the truth, looking for information, tend to be liberal.
Yeah, and I think that they find things that are kind of ridiculous in their minds, shaped by their politics. They find that ridiculousness something to parody. And that's why we have Saturday Night Live. Every week, Saturday Night Live is what is ridiculous, stupid thing.
Well, and it's why I think Saturday Night Live is still relevant. People say, "What do you think of the new show?" Or people say, "Kroeger, I loved your days more." Well, I didn't. I actually think the show's better now. I loved times in the 80s and the 90s. I loved Will Ferrell. I loved Chris Farley. I loved, Dana Carvey. I love the cast now. I really do. I think that the show has always been a writer's medium if you have really good players that can do the imitations and the pieces of the puzzle.
Somebody that we know, Steve Higgins, who's the head writer on SNL.
Yeah.
His son is part of
great. They're great.
What's it called? Please Don't Destroy Video.
Right. The three
of
them.
Son is in it, and he's terrific, isn't he?
Terrific. I look forward to their segment. This week it was the road show, or the road trip with
those
Jen Ortega.
Boys. The brothers. Now
it goes right through the DNA, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I love his two castmates, and I can't honestly tell you their names, but I look forward to their segments tremendously.
No, that's great. I don't know how. My sense is that they were just kind of like hired because Steve Higgins' kid was there. They were probably hired to do some kind of funny stuff. You kids go in there to do some fun,
and they put them in an office,
right? Then
shut the door.
You guys come up with something, and these guys have not only come up with something, they've really come up with.
I know. I don't know for sure that this is how it happened, but having been there, I know that they put you in a room. That you're on the payroll, whatever, and they're sitting in there. We might as well make fun of the fact that we're nobodies. We might as well make fun of the fact that we're not part of this. And so they created this franchise, and it's one of the best parts of the show ever.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Speaking of the show, since we're talking about me, and back in those days, right before Jamie Lee Curtis did the show, Robert Blake did the show.
Oh, wow. That's a classic.
Kenny, I have Robert Blake stories.
You gotta, yes.
One story keeps showing up. People say, Kroeger, did you know that Robert Blake is banned from SNL?
Yes,
and this story, David Sheffield, one of the great writers from the show, would put the story into print where I pitched a script to Robert Blake in the Monday morning meeting. I loved Beretta. I loved the Cockatoo. And I don't remember the
Is this like a big, long table of writers and everybody there?
Well, everybody went into Dick Ebersol, or now it's, of course, Lorne Michaels' office.
Yeah.
And you meet the host, hey, it's Robert Blake. Hey, everybody. And everybody's excited. And you just pitch preliminary ideas to see what might excite the host. So I know that I worked on this with Paul Barras and Brad Hall. And I said, hey, it's called Breezy Philosopher or something, and you're like this college professor, but you're a real dolt, kind of like Beretta, but your Cockatoo knows everything, can quote Shakespeare, and it was relatively funny, I thought. And he said, kid, I hope you've got I don't remember what he said. I hope you got a strong asshole or something. And he wiped his ass with it, and he threw it in my face.
Wow.
Well, there was a hush in the room, but honestly, Kenny, I swear to you, to me, that was, I guess I'm in show business now.
Okay.
I'm not on his level. He doesn't like the idea. This is how, So I went on to have a fun week with him. I thought he was
really?
fun.
Okay.
Years later, I read about the fact that I must have been humiliated, but I wasn't.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
But that's not the end of my Robert Blake story. Years later, I've got a girlfriend, crazy girlfriend, and she lives down the street from Robert Blake. And we would go to a restaurant called Vitello's, Vitello's on Tujunga.
Exactly.
And around the corner was a little coffee shop that became a stand-up comic place. And I put some friends up there. And Robert would always go there. And my girlfriend would go there, and he would hit on her all the time. He would hit on her.
But did he remember the incident from SNL?
No. And I said, hey, Gary Kroeger from SNL. And you could tell his eyes, but he had no idea. All he knew was that I was with a pretty girl. And he would sit next, and just with me right there, he would go, hey, why don't you come back to my place tonight? And, maybe tomorrow morning we'd take a drive out to my cabin or something like that. I mean, he did this all the time. And every time I would see him, I'd have to reintroduce myself. So I know this guy doesn't give a fuck about me. So I wasn't particularly fond of him. Well, years and years later, 6, 7 years later, I'm having dinner in Vitello's, and I can't even remember who I'm with. And he's there with Bonnie Lee Bakey, his wife, Bakley, or whatever her name was. And I'm there, there's Robert Blake. No point in saying hi. He doesn't remember me. But he left, and he came back, and I heard that, he forgot his gun.
Oh, in the restaurant, people will say everyone in the restaurant knew that he came back to retrieve his gun.
To retrieve his gun.
Why, I remember go back and go, hey, I forgot my gun. Has anybody seen it?
Right. Who says that, right?
I don't know.
I remember he came back and he picked up a satchel or something like that, and he left again. And then I paid my check, and I walked to my car. I remember walking to my car in the dark. There's a big dumpster. There's a car parked here. There's my car. And I drove off and I went home. The next day on the news, I see that place with yellow police tape that car and the dumpster and where my empty car space was. And this is the crime scene where he was murdered. She was murdered. And I thought, oh my God, I was there. And I'm wondering, did I walk by the dead person? Did it happen after me or before me?
But did the police ever question you?
No. And people have been coming down on me, writing me privately, because I mentioned that on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Kroeger, you're an asshole. Why didn't you report that? Well, first of all, I had nothing to report.
Right.
Everybody saw him in the restaurant. I learned later that he came back for his gun. And then, well, what did you see? Nothing. Did you hear anything? No. Do you know what time? No. Do you want my name? No. There was nothing that I could add to this.
No, I get that. And I just read in his obituary about how his life started. I mean, this guy, he was an abused kid at
the story's
5-6
horrible.
years old. It's horrible.
The story's horrible. But, in conclusion, and maybe you have a feeling about this, I wrote a little obituary and I told my story and I go, you know what? I loved him in Cold Blood. That was one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
And I loved Beretta. And I said, a court found him not guilty. Well, in my heart, I'm pretty sure everything about him and the circumstance leads to guilt. But I wasn't on the jury. I didn't hear it all. The court said not guilty. So who am I to judge? So I said, rest in peace. But then, of course, the moral police come out and say, how could you say rest in peace to a man who killed his wife? Well, you don't know. It's a hunch.
Well, listen, to be honest with you,
I get it.
After he threw the sketch in your face and hit on your girlfriend, I wouldn't have said rest in peace. Forget the fact that he killed that woman. That's not the issue that bothers me. What bothers me is that, he basically, insulted you twice.
He insulted me many
ways. And even after that, you said, oh, rest in peace.
Right. Okay. I'm a nice guy.
Well, that's a little too nice.
But in a way, I stand by it because, no, do I think he was a nice guy? No. I don't think it was ever about me. I was invisible to him at Saturday Night Live, wiping his ass with my script, hitting on my girlfriend. I was invisible to him. He had a matrix of thinking and seeing the world and demons that was his own. Yeah. So I was irrelevant to this.
Right.
All he gave me were some performances and a couple of Tonight Show appearances that were hysterical. Mm-hmm. He'd come on and say, don't bother seeing my film. It's awful. You never heard anybody so honest.
Right. So, listen, the truth of the matter is, I think he was probably, he lived a very troubled life. Interesting. I don't know. But, okay.
And
all the people that you're now, and this goes back to our age. See, we've had celebrity run-ins. Well, now they're all dying, Gary.
They are all dying. I followed David Crosby around the Beverly Center once. All of these people that were just idols.
I know.
They're
so we're really like the old people when we tell our grandchildren, I once knew Bob Dylan, and they'd go,
well, yes. And as we get older, it accelerates, doesn't it? Because these people were 15 years older than we are, 20, 25, and they're just dying. Topol. I loved Topol.
Yeah.
90.
Well, I'll throw out some people that we haven't seen recently, and we'll just
we'll see if they're alive or not.
Jack Nicholson. Has anybody seen Hiding Her Hair? He didn't even show up at Kobe's.
No. I'm sure he's alive, but I think that he might. He's old.
He's old.
He might be in bad health.
Warren Beatty.
We don't see much. Well, we saw him last year or whatever year it was when Jimmy.
That was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
He's probably fine.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they're fine. But this is you're hearing less and less. What's amazing to me is Mel Brooks is still doing. By the way, did you see?
He's 99.
His history. It was awful.
It's unwatchable.
Well, because here's the thing. He had nothing to do with it other than to introduce it. He didn't star in it, and he didn't write it.
Well, he is one of the co-writers. I mean, it says, but maybe that's just some premises.
Okay.
But he doesn't remember what made him good because he's just doing it as a parody of himself.
Yeah.
The Great Depression. He's just throwing things. He doesn't even.
Yeah, because
it's really his own subtlety.
It was embarrassing. I couldn't watch it. I
mean, I'll tell you, I like the concept of Anastasia as an influencer. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I know, but generally it was just weak and poorly executed and really bad.
Right. I think that the actors are extraordinary. I mean, maybe not the way they're playing these things, but we know they're great.
Yeah,
comic
but
actors.
it wasn't funny. Just not.
Well, and
funny.
I think Mel, there's the scene in the landing at Normandy where they're all belching, right? And they're belching into their helmets, because they're coming over on the landing vehicle, and the soldiers are belching before they land on Omaha Beach.
Yeah.
Well, that was an homage to farting around the campfire.
Right. But can we talk about this thing, this human, what do you call it? When people belch and they vomit and they throw up and they poop.
Excretions?
That kind of comedy. Yeah. Did you see
scatological humor?
The scatological.
What you're looking for?
Did you see Triangle of Sadness?
Yes, I did.
There's a 15-minute scene in there of vomiting and pooping and
I
diarrhea.
didn't like it. I didn't like it either. And not only that, I even said my son, who kind of liked it, I said, I heard the filmmaker talk about the ending, and I'm like, no, you're a coward. You couldn't I can do a beginning and a middle of a movie. Right. Anybody can do it. So do the end. Right.
To the end.
I watched it. No, I was really disappointed, and it was nominated, and I thought, okay, this is going to be great. No, I didn't like it.
But I'm so tired of the vomiting and the how realistic can we make the puking? How realistic can we make the diarrhea? And how long can we stay on it? And I was like, please stop it. I don't want it. People love it. Her Bridesgroom, the funniest scene in what was it, Bridesmaid?
Bridesmaids.
When she has the diarrhea scene in the middle of the street.
That was funnier than all of that somehow seemed appropriate to me.
Even that to me is like, oh, that's not that. I'm not one, but this is me. When somebody fart humor is not like, oh, that's so funny. It's such not. I don't like it. I'm against it. I'm against it.
Your feeling is about me watching people have sex on screen. I don't care for bodily excretions of any kind, and I don't like to see people's face before they excrete. I don't like to see the human animal in its most vulgar.
Right, but I will put this. Okay, intimate. I understand that. No, actually, I don't understand. I don't understand anybody that doesn't want to watch anybody else have sex. I think that's what we all want to. That's why we invented binoculars
and telescopes
and telescopes.
Yes, and the internet.
We all want to see other people having sex. I mean, if they're attractive people, but so I don't really get that. But just the thing is, you're not going to run into that a lot. But what's happening is that every time I watch a movie, there's always seems to be these scenes where it's did you see Babylon?
No, I never did see Babylon. I didn't see it because when people give it bad reviews and say it's 3.5 hours, I'm just not interested.
I get it, but I actually liked it much more than
the reviews.
The Triangle of Sadness. I liked it a lot more. There's actually a lot of stuff in it that I really enjoyed because it's old movie stuff.
I think I would have enjoyed it, but not at 3 hours.
There's a 10-minute throw-up scene. 10 minutes. She throws up. I don't want to see her throw up. I would like to see her naked and have sex, but I didn't want to see her throw up. And then she runs in the house and everybody starts to throw up.
You're preaching to the choir. I guess it's a level. I don't know what it means. Anthropologists will have to unearth these and figure out that there was a trend toward reality, and each of those throwing up and farting and all of that and having orgasms was.
This is the world. This is the new world that we live in, Gary.
It's a new world, Golda. It's a new world. Speaking of Topol. Mm. And by the way, as much as I'm sorry that Topol died, I thought he was dead already.
Well, you don't have to apologize.
He falls into that Abe Vigoda place where I thought he died like 15 years ago.
But here's the thing that when you mentioned it before, and even with that movie, the In Cold Blood movie that Robert Blake was in, it's never on TV. I don't know of any young person that has ever seen that movie.
Well, I grew up watching it. It was one of those films that
Fiddler on the Roof. My kids have never heard of it.
They've heard of it, but they haven't seen it.
They've heard, right.
Tell me they've heard of it.
Yeah.
But they haven't seen the Topol Fiddler on the Roof.
Right.
Well, I doubt mine have either. And they certainly haven't seen In Cold Blood. Well, when we only had 3 stations, and basically we only had 2 because ABC, you had to turn the antenna. They were so hungry for any content that I would watch A Night to Remember every year. And of course, The Wizard of Oz. In Cold Blood would be on as a special presentation. And in the Midwest, because it was the Clutter family from Kansas, it was really the most terrifying, real story that we'd ever seen. And all of us here in the Midwest were feeling, oh my God, I'm afraid to, Dick and Perry might be out there right now. But again, that's when I didn't know Robert Blake with Little Rascals. When I saw In Cold Blood, who is this actor? Who could make, was he Perry or Dick? He was Perry. He was Perry. Sympathetic. Not that you felt sorry for him.
No.
And you're happy that he gets fried.
Absolutely.
But still, there was a level of a real human being in the portrayal that I thought was just magnificent.
Those movies, and I thought were great movies. Which of the 10 movies that were nominated, and I don't know if you saw all of them, did you think was a great movie that you think should live on for generations?
It was such a weird field because I can't put movies like Avatar in there or Maverick, because those are event movies to me.
Exactly.
I mean, they're big spectacle movies.
Right.
It's not like The Godfather. It's not like In Cold Blood. It's not like Casablanca. I don't know. Maybe the movie that won, which I always have trouble remembering the title.
No, I mean, I guess maybe that, but I didn't.
I thought it was the best of the field that I'd seen, and I hadn't.
It just,
seen them all.
you know what? It was cleverly done.
Yes.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. It was cleverly done.
That's right.
With a lot of imagination.
Yeah.
But I think really but as far as an impact movie where you walked out and you went,
agree.
Whoa.
Right.
Like you did when you walked out of In Cold Blood, or, the other one, where you walked out and you went, whoa, let's sit and think about this. Remember, you'd go out after a movie and you'd sit at a table with everybody and people would be like,
Saving
whoa.
Private Ryan, or any number of films, and Sophie's Choice. No, I didn't get that feeling. I was entertained. I was entertained by The Fabelmans. I loved seeing that story. I loved how it was portrayed. But it's not something that I'm now going to put in my top 10 list. Nothing knocked off Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Godfather 1 and 2, or Midnight Cowboy for me. Yeah.
I don't know if we're ever going to see those types of movies anymore.
I don't know. They're independent, small films. Maybe they're getting made and they're playing in festivals. They're probably showing up and streaming somewhere, but there's so many. Yeah. I have to hear about it before I tune into it.
Yeah. Well,
there we have it, Kenny.
We're two old men and
our idols are dying.
But I don't feel old. I don't
feel old. Yeah. No, and as a matter of fact, and as we draw to a close here, Kenny, we're doing a half-hour show, and we often talk about our health. And I still have a bad knee. I feel better than I have it in months and months and months. I actually feel like I've got another 40 years to go.
I feel that, like, by the time I die, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life.
What if you'll die before me? Do you ever? I think about that, though. I think, which of my friends? What are you going to say about me? No, you don't.
I never think about that.
I do. I think, what are you going to say about me? And what am I going to? You know what? Like,
what do you have? Like a board up in your house? With everybody's name on it?
Not yet. But I think here's what bothers me, Kenny. Here's what bothers me. I know you'll mourn me. I know Brad and all sorts of people, my wife, of course, my children, and you'll mourn me.
By the way, could I take out? Would you be okay if I date Shannon after your?
Absolutely. Will you be divorced?
No, actually, into polygamy. Now that I remember, I'll be dead.
You'll be dead. Here's the thing, and this is probably for a whole different episode, because it's so cheery. All right, I'll die. And I know you're going to feel bad. Lots of people are going to feel bad. And you're going to feel worse and worse and worse. And at the funeral, go, oh my God, and there's going to be tears. And probably for another day.
Will there be catering?
There'll be catering.
Okay.
And you'll be crying over drinks and toasting. Oh, remember when Robert Blake wiped his ass with you? Remember when Gary did this? You remember the stupid things that Gary did? But then 2 days later, you're back online and you're sharing funny TikTok videos. You're sitting there watching a movie and you're having belly laughs. We all just fade into the mist of time.
Well, we don't actually. You know why? Because our Facebook page stays up. Does the Facebook page?
But you're not. You're going to drop me so you have room for more friends. Hey, Now, I've had Facebook friends die, and I'm afraid to drop them for the bad karma, but I'm thinking they're not going to respond, and I'd really like to make room for new friends. Is there a grace period? Is there an etiquette to this?
Because the thing is, you can't just close down somebody's page.
No, but I can defriend.
You have to notify. Facebook would have to be notified that they are deceased, and you want the page down.
Well,
and then you probably
have to make a memorial.
And then you probably have to supply like a death certificate.
But I can drop dead friends. You can defriend. Well, why not drop a dead friend?
That could be bad karma. That could be.
Well, that's why I keep my dead friends.
Yeah,
I have probably 20 dead friends, and I'd really like to make room on Facebook. Would you keep me when I die?
Absolutely. And
would you ever go to my page?
I'm kind of curious how do I check my dead friends? Is there like you can search the dead friends and it'll come up all the people who are dead who are still my friends?
I just stop and think, who's died that was a Facebook friend? And then I'll go and say, oh, there they are still. There they are. And then it'll be like, happy heavenly birthday,
I had a couple of recently Facebook friends that have died. And I've gone to their page and it just says,
you happy heavenly birthday. I miss you so much.
Right.
I'd like to think that my page is going to be populated with that. Happy heavenly birthday, Gary. Of course. What's it going to mean to me?
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, Kenny, let's go.
That's amazing
back
to think that there are billions and billions of people who are dead on Facebook.
I don't know billions and billions, but there are
millions and millions,
and millions of dead Facebook friends.
Facebook friends, yeah.
Wow. I don't know what the idea is, but I think there's something here we could mine to maybe make some money. Dead Facebook dead, Facebook for the dead.
Yes, we should. Yes, if we could get them all together,
we could monetize this
and have them like our page.
Right. Well, maybe we just have a service where we send all the heavenly birthdays, thoughts and prayers, and heavenly birthdays.
I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if they had something like that.
All right. Well, look into it.
We should do this. We should do this soon.
More often. Again. Let's do this again. Let's put this one right on the air. And
yes, sir.
Toast the Oscars. It's been a joy talking with you, Kenneth.
Yes.
My son is in Chicago, and I'm about to go take him out to dinner now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you want to say goodbye?
Say goodbye.
The way you usually do.
That I do. All right. Thank you for watching the Gary and Kenny Show. You can find us on all listening on all the popular podcast platforms. We're also on streaming TV, DBNA television, and we have a YouTube channel. We'd love if you'd go there and give us a thumbs up. In the meanwhile, I'm Gary. That's Kenny, and we'll see you later. How's that, Kenny?
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.